200 years ago, poltergeists didn't exist, but in 1829, 26 different people in Ontario witnessed and documented the same bizarre events. Flying objects, spontaneous fires, bullets appearing out of thin air. Journalists came. Investigators examined. The church intervened. The solution? Shooting a witch with a silver bullet. It worked. But how is that possible? This story will take you to 1829 Ontario. The events in the small Scottish settlement of Baldoon laid the foundation for modern paranormal research. This isn't just a ghost story. This is Canada's most well-documented supernatural case, and it still can't be fully explained today. In 1804, Lord Selkirk wanted to establish a new Scottish colony in southwestern Ontario. The Baldoon settlement was his dream of creating a community similar to the Scottish Highlands. Lord Selkirk brought 15 families from his homeland, imported sheep, and envisioned a perfect agricultural society. Reality was very different. Baldoon was built on swampland. Malaria outbreaks hit the community. Agriculture failed. Sheep died from disease. Most settlers left the town in desperation. By the 1820s, Baldoon had become almost a ghost town, but some families stayed. One of them was the John MacLeod family. MacLeod lived on a small farm with his wife Margaret and their 3 young children. With his tough Scottish character, he weathered the hardships. Life was difficult but normal until 1829, until strange things started happening that autumn. 1829. The MacLeod family women were processing straw in the barn. Suddenly, a large wooden beam fell from the ceiling. The women barely escaped death by running at the last moment. The men examined the barn, but found nothing that could explain why the beam had fallen. The beam had been securely mounted. A few days later, a second beam fell. This time a third beam followed right after. The women were now afraid to enter the barn. John MacLeod searched for every possible physical explanation, but found none. The real terror began at home. At night, strange sounds started coming from the kitchen. It sounded like many men marching. When John went to check, no one was there, but the sounds continued. Margaret noticed the baby's cradle rocking by itself. Even when 3 men held it together, the cradle wouldn't stop rocking. Then the window glass started breaking, but it wasn't stones coming through. It was bullet fragments. They would wake up in the middle of the night to find bullet fragments in their rooms. Where they came from was unclear. Gossip began spreading around town. Strange things were happening at the MacLeod farm. At first, neighbors were skeptical, but those who came to observe out of curiosity were shocked. Neighbor Alexander Brown gave his statement. "I was there and I saw it. Bullet fragments were coming through the window. We took these bullets, marked them, tied them in a bag, and dropped them into the center of the channel in about 36 feet of water. Shortly after, the same marked bullet came back through the window." Margaret's sister Sarah testified. "At midnight we could hear the sound of 20 to 30 men marching in the kitchen. When we checked, no one was there. The sounds were very clear and rhythmic, like soldiers marching." Local farmer William Stewart. "I saw it with my own eyes. The fireplace fire went out by itself. Then blue flames appeared. There was a sulfur smell in the room. This can't be natural." When these witness statements leaked to newspapers, Baldoon became a regional attraction. The events experienced by the MacLeod family intensified. Now something happened every night. Wardrobes opened by themselves. Food flew around the room. Worst of all, small fires started breaking out. John discovered the first fire in the bedroom. He extinguished it in terror, but couldn't understand how it had started. The next night there was another fire in the kitchen, then in the attic. Each time the family managed to put out the fire, but fear reached its peak. The strangest incident happened to baby Lorna. The 18-month-old baby's cradle began rocking so violently by itself that it almost overturned. John, Margaret, and 2 neighbors tried to hold the cradle together but couldn't stop it. It was as if an invisible force was controlling the baby's cradle. Margaret described that night. "My baby was crying, but we couldn't stop the cradle. It was like a giant hand was rocking the cradle. I felt fear and helplessness." The family now began taking turns keeping watch at night, but this didn't help at all. By early 1830, the MacLeod farm had become headlines in Canadian media. Toronto Globe reporter Robert Murray came to Baldoon to investigate the incidents. When he observed the events he had initially approached with skepticism, he was shocked. Murray's report. "These events are real. I saw them myself. Stones and bullet fragments came to the windows. No one was throwing them. They seemed to come from the air. I observed strange sounds, fires, flying objects inside the house. I couldn't find a scientific method to explain them. James Wilson from Hamilton Spectator made similar observations. The MacLeod family are normal, honest people. The events they're experiencing can't be explained by natural causes. Supernatural intervention is necessary. Local church authorities also got involved. Protestant minister Reverend William Harrison visited the farm. He advised the family to pray and turn to God, but he also witnessed the strange events. Harrison's statement: "While I was preaching, a large stone broke through the door and entered the room. No one had thrown it. This is supernatural." By the summer of 1830, the MacLeod family was in desperation. Local authorities couldn't find a solution. The church could only pray. Scientists couldn't provide explanations. The events wouldn't stop. One of the neighbors mentioned an old German immigrant named Heinrich Treuer. It was believed that Treuer had second sight and could solve supernatural problems. Desperate, John MacLeod invited Treuer to the farm. When Treuer arrived, he immediately assessed the situation. He walked around the farm, examined the house, talked with the family. Finally, he reached a shocking conclusion. "There's an old woman living on this land. This woman wants your land and is using witchcraft to drive you away," Treuer said. According to Heinrich Treuer, this old woman could transform herself into a black goose, and they could only stop this supernatural attack with a silver bullet. Treuer's instruction was clear. When a black-headed goose comes to your family, you must shoot it with a silver bullet. When the goose is wounded, the witch will also be wounded, and the spell will be broken. John MacLeod found this instruction ridiculous, but he had no other choice. He obtained silver from the silversmith and cast a bullet. His family watched with skepticism, but also with hope. The wait wasn't long. The next week, a black-headed goose came to the farm. The goose displayed strange behavior. It didn't mix with other geese and seemed to be watching the MacLeod family. John took his rifle and loaded the silver bullet. Margaret and the children were watching. John aimed at the goose's wing and fired. The goose was hit. Its wing was wounded, but it died. But the strange thing was, no paranormal events occurred that night. The next morning, shocking news spread around town. Old Martha Schneider, who lived 2 miles from the farm, had been found with a broken arm. The woman told her neighbors, "I fell at home last night. My arm was broken." But the townspeople found this very strange. Martha Schneider had repeatedly tried to buy the MacLeod land until then. John had refused every time. The woman had insisted one last time, even acting threatening. Whispers began circulating among the townspeople. Was Martha a witch? Had the silver bullet really worked? John MacLeod didn't make a definitive statement, but the fact was, no paranormal events occurred at the farm after that night. No bullets came through windows. No fires broke out. No sounds were heard. Life returned to normal. Martha Schneider left town a few weeks later. Where she went is unknown. The events at the MacLeod farm also stopped completely. The reliability of the Baldoon Mystery lies in the number of witnesses. 26 different people observed the events and gave statements. Among them were local farmers, journalists, church officials, government officials, curious visitors. These statements are still available today in the Toronto archives. Detailed news stories are in the archives of Hamilton Spectator and Toronto Globe newspapers. The most notable witness was Dr. William Morrison. Morrison came as a skeptical doctor, but was surprised by what he saw. "I observed events I couldn't find scientific explanation for. Flying bullets, spontaneous fires, unexplained sounds. This family is not lying. It's a real phenomenon." Local magistrate Thomas Campbell wrote in his official report, "The MacLeod family are honest, reliable people. The events they experienced can't be explained by natural causes. Supernatural intervention is necessary." In the 20th century, paranormal researchers studied the Baldoon Mystery. Various theories were proposed. Poltergeist theory. Modern parapsychologists evaluate the events as classic poltergeist activity. It could be a manifestation of psychic energy created by family stress. Fraud theory. Some skeptics claim the family staged fake events to attract attention, but having 26 independent witnesses see the same things weakens this theory. Historical trauma theory. Some researchers suggest that the land trauma created by Native American European conflicts in the region produced supernatural manifestations. Mass hysteria theory. There's also the possibility of social hysteria and shared hallucination. But physical evidence, bullet fragments, burn marks, refutes this theory. Geomagnetic anomaly theory. Modern scientists think magnetic anomalies in the region affected the human brain and caused paranormal experiences. Today, the town of Baldoon no longer exists. Only a historical marker shows the remains, but the location where the MacLeod farm stood still arouses curiosity. Documents related to the Baldoon Mystery are displayed at the Wallaceburg Museum. Every year, curious people visit the area. Some are still looking for paranormal activity. Local tour guide Linda Harrison. People come to the area to take photos, take measurements with EMF readers. They continue searching for something. In 2015, archaeologist Dr. Michael Peterson excavated the area. He found the foundations of the MacLeod farm. However, he couldn't find paranormal evidence, but he said, "It's impossible for this story to be completely made up. There are too many witnesses, too many documents." The Baldoon Mystery shows the tension between modern science and traditional belief. In the 19th century, people were more open to supernatural explanations. Witchcraft, magic, poltergeists were considered normal. Modern science tries to explain these events through psychology, sociology, physics, but there's still no complete consensus. Paranormal researcher Professor Sarah Chen from University of Toronto. "We can't say the Baldoon Mystery has been completely explained. Some elements still maintain their mystery." Dr. James Wilson from Skeptic Society. "These events stem from the inadequacy of that era's scientific level. They can be completely explained with today's technology." The debate continues. The Baldoon Mystery wasn't an isolated event. Similar cases were recorded in the same period. Bell Witch, Tennessee, 1817 to 1821. Similar poltergeist activity. Family harassment. Supernatural solution. Wizard Clip, West Virginia, 1790s. Flying objects. Mysterious sounds. Religious intervention. Cock Lane Ghost, London, 1762. Paranormal case that attracted media interest. Common points of these cases: family stress, land disputes, supernatural solutions, media interest. Paranormal researchers evaluate these similarities as an authentic poltergeist pattern. The Baldoon Mystery holds a special place in Canadian folklore. Governor General award-winning author James Reaney wrote a play about the subject in the 1970s. Local museums use the story as a tourist attraction. It's taught as part of local history courses in the Ontario education system. Children use the case for critical thinking and evidence evaluation. Canadian Broadcasting Corporation made a documentary in the 1980s, but mainstream media didn't pay much attention because they found it unscientific. The real explanation of the Baldoon Mystery will probably never be known. 26 witnesses observed the same events. Newspapers wrote about it. Documents were archived, but the definitive truth remains unclear. Maybe it was a poltergeist. Maybe mass hysteria, maybe a clever hoax, maybe a natural phenomenon, or maybe it really was supernatural. What matters is this: these events affected real people's lives. The MacLeod family experienced real terror. The townspeople were real witnesses, and the story remained alive for 200 years. Did John MacLeod's silver bullet really stop the witch? Was Martha Schneider really a sorceress? Or was it coincidence? You have to give the answer. What does this story remind you of? What do you think about events science can't explain? Can modern technology solve the mysteries of the past? Share your thoughts in the comments. Because here at Story Revolution, we also shed light on the reality of magic and supernatural events. If this story affected you, don't forget to like and share. Stories like these show that there are mysteries even the modern world can't explain, and that the secrets of the past still live among us. A new story is coming soon. Until then, keep an open mind, evaluate the evidence, and remember, sometimes reality is stranger than the most fantastic stories. This story has been adapted from real events,